Within each and every role player lives this homeless character who wants nothing more than to quiet the heartbeat of every living thing that stands in his way. Today we celebrate this all too familiar character with...
Well now, looky here. It's the Murder Hobo Show.
We want to go to... I think we want to go to this one, Jay. I'm not 100% sure. Let me smash over to the old Twitch channel here and see if we got any audio out. I know you can hear me, but I need to know if everybody else can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, I think it's working. Say a thing for me, Jay.
Hello, thing.
It is working. Mute.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I can mute that channel. All right, well, let's get after it, man. That's good. So the little audio screwage thingamajigger that I did worked. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG show. Proud member of Nothing. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate you putting that in there. Yep, not a damn thing.
Welcome, bud.
We have no commitments.
Just us.
Right? No commitments, no responsibilities. You know, my general saying is F this place, it's bullshit and I'm out of here. But that's what Dave did, so no more Tabletop RPG Network. And now the wild die's over. Farewell, good riddance. That was a good ride, a fun time, and I'm a little sad to see it go. But we have this show now to focus on. It's just me, it's just you hanging out. A couple of greasy fat old guys with a love for mayonnaise. You like mayonnaise?
Well, I hate mayonnaise. Like two of the things that I hate in the world are boiled eggs and mayonnaise. In fact, that is my kryptonite. Like you egg salad will render me weakless, man. Or just like I will start whoa like that. Now boiled eggs and mayonnaise, man.
What is it about the two of them that you don't like?
Well, here's the thing. Like a lot of stuff that I don't like, it comes from working in a restaurant and smelling stuff go bad. But if you ever smell mayonnaise that's turned, oh my God, it's the worst smell in the world. It's at least one of them. But then when I was a kid, I ate like a boiled egg that had already turned when I was like 3, and I've never liked them since. So, so a lot of stuff I ate is because, I ate it when it was bad or just was, exposed to it.
What about Miracle Whip?
We were a Miracle Whip family growing up, man. That's what we ate. Miracle Whip actually stays a lot longer. It actually has a lot more preservatives, so it stays a lot longer than mayonnaise does. But yeah, no, we grew up with Miracle Whip. We had we made everything with Miracle Whip.
Wow, everything.
When they originally packaged it, if you look at I don't know if they still do this on the jar of it, but it used to say salad dressing. So like my grandma, she used to put in salad and stuff, and like I would never think about eating it like fucking salad dressing now. But like Miracle Whip, if I even smell it, it's sort of like, It was really crazy, but I like mustard, man. Mustard and salsa are like my 2 favorite condiments.
Wow, that's good to know. You put those on hot dogs, hamburgers?
Oh, yeah, I put mustard on hot dogs and hamburgers. Do you guys, let me ask you this though. Is that like a Southern thing? Like, do you guys put mustard on hamburgers up in the Pacific Northwest? Because, I grew up in the South and a lot of other places, and that was always a thing. Like in Texas, man, you can't get a burger without mustard on it.
Yeah, I'm down with the ketchup, the mustard, the mayonnaise, and I like the hot dog relish. I'll put all of that on my. I mean, essentially, my hot dog is more a condiment dog than actual
The actual sandwich. It's just a vehicle for all the condiments.
Right, that's pretty much what it is. There's got to be a slab of warm meat in the middle. You got the bun on the outside, and then just like a shitload of condiments. So when you bite into it, it like lands in your beard. It's nothing. There's nothing better than 9-10 o'clock at night. You're laying in bed, and you scratch your chin, and you pull out like a piece of relish, and you're like, "Oh, I had hot dogs at noon."
And you're like, "Oh, pop it back in the mouth." Delicious.
Right? It's just like eating boogers.
Yeah. I mean, that's what your beer's for, man. That's what Vikings used to store like whole food in there.
It's a booger collector.
Pretty much.
Oh my God! Let's start this over. I'm keeping this in the podcast, but let's start this over. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG show. Proud member of Nothing. This is episode 37. This is Troy. Recorded May 27th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo, and I am here with Uncle J. Ras, a.k.a. Crapton Colon, better known as the Cleveland Crapper, the Chi-Town Steamer, and the Power Pooper of Doom.
Well, hello there, Gary. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Things are well-ish. I'm kind of trying to recover from my 5-day. I was supposed to go on vacation, Jay. I was supposed to go fishing. I spent four days doing home renovations, and I'm a little sore.
No, I don't blame you. Well, I haven't been. All I've been doing is packing and moving. Because
Yep.
what's going to be funny? This is going to be the last time that we record while I'm in Central Time. The next time that we record, we will both be on Pacific Time, and I won't even mention Eastern Time or Central Time or Mountain Time because it won't matter. I'll be on Pacific Time, the only time that matters.
Right? Nobody cares about those fools over there. That's all I got to say.
Those people living in the future,
Right.
Who needs them? We got to see what we live in the past so we can learn from their mistakes.
It's funny that you say that. Did you ever hear about the woman that was upset because she found out the people in like England were 12 hours ahead of us, and she was mad that they didn't warn us that the Twin Towers were going to happen?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about, well, why didn't they tell us? I bet you she was from Tennessee too. Well, why didn't they tell us they knew ahead? They was 12 hours ahead in England. They could have wrote and told us. Sounds like every old woman here, every old Karen here.
Oh, man.
I'm so glad I'll be away from all of that.
Well,
Woo-hoo!
so far it's blatantly not obvious, but yeah, this is a podcast about role-playing games because we like them all. As usual, we're going to jibber-jabber through this in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about.
That's right. We are an we are an RPG entertainment podcast, and although you might occasionally be able to glimpse a nugget of truth or inspiration from our many years of gaming experience, we promise it will be unintentional. Also, please note that we stream this podcast live on Twitch and convert it to podcast format. You can check us out every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, unless something happens like last night, but that's not a big deal. We won't worry about it. You're watching this now, aren't you? So shut up.
Wow, that's stiff out of the gate, my dude.
I just wanted to let people know in case they were complaining, like, why weren't you on last night? Like, this life happens.
Yeah, I ended up working 13 and a half hours yesterday. It was a bit of a gong show. And then today I go into work and I work 3.5 hours. I was home by like 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I watched a couple of TV shows. Wait a second. I forgot what I was doing here. Oh, yeah. So let's keep on podcast track before we start rambling because that's just what's going to happen. That's right. So on tonight's show, we're going to talk about Trojan War. This is a new Fantasy Age, Green Ronan's new Fantasy Age supplement. And time permitting, we're going to get into some community questions where we answer questions no one asks us. That out of the way, let's get after it. So I've been watching a couple of different things. Have you seen Army of the Dead with Barista?
No, I need, and that's Batista, not Barista. Barista, somebody coffee. That's awesome. Yeah, but with Dave Batista.
Yeah.
No, I was actually going to fire it up tonight or actually not tonight, but tomorrow night because they cut off internet on Saturday, so I was going to try to get all my Netflix and then, tomorrow.
Yeah. So
I was going to watch on a Friday night, just in between packing and whatnot.
I liked it. It was good. Barista did a fantastic job. It's I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's good, man. There's some really cool stuff. Like they got all the Vegas tropes that they hid in there and stuff like that. It is a heist movie that takes place in Vegas after Vegas has been taken over by zombies. And there's a vault in the basement that has something like $250 million in it, kind of a thing. And they got a plan to go in, get the money, and get out. But of course, the place is surrounded by zombies. And I'm like, man, that would be such an epic freaking like one shot to pull off. But you got some cool things going on in there, like some titty zombies. There's some boobies. Zombie, I don't know. I can't think of a boob word. Zombie zappers? No. Zippers? Zopals? What? I don't know.
Zombie bazongas.
Zombie zongas. Sweet justice. Yeah, there's some undead zombie boobs right near the beginning. A couple of what do you call them? Like the dancing girls down there that they have and stuff, or they come at you and whatnot. So you got some of that. You got Elvis.
Girls.
Yeah, you got zombie Elvis, and there's a couple other cool things that happen in it. But It's just one of those neat shows. Like, you sit down, you watch it, it's just going to be dumb violence and just, what do they call it? Like, it's just like gore porn kind, blood spurting
Yeah,
everywhere and stuff. But
it's a popcorn movie. I heard it's more, it's a lot more fun. I heard that this one's a lot more fun than like what Zack Snyder's done, like the superhero movies. It's just like a fun movie. So yeah, I'd watch it.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And it's kind of cool because there's these not cut scenes by any means, but there's just these really cool scenes that he captures throughout the movie where you're just like you're watching it and you're like, yep, there's a role playing gimmick right there. Oh, that's a notice check. Oh, failed to stealth. You know what I mean? Oh, this is a dramatic
Right.
task, and you're like, oh man, it was pretty good. So I checked that out, and then today, I watched that a couple of days ago, but I was checking out this movie that I haven't seen before, and it's called Savannah. Are you aware of it at all? It has Matthew
No, I haven't heard of it.
McConaughey in it. Let me do a quick
No, I haven't.
IMDb of this deal. Savannah, because I can't remember who the other guys' names are. Savannah movie. Let's quickly just rip this off. Showing results. So here it is. Savannah film IMDb. No, that is not it. That is definitely not it. Savannah with how do you spell Matthew McConaughey? Maybe it'll come up now. Sahara. My bad. Wasn't Savannah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw Sahara a long time ago. I love it when I realize that what you'll say about one show is going to be vastly different than the actual title, so I have to like take that with a grain of salt. What you actually,
Right? Oh man,
you ever see Savannah? Oh, Sahara. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that quite a while ago. That was a little.
I just finished watching this 2 hours ago, and I forgot the freaking name already. It's weird because it came up and it's like nudity, and who's in it? You've got Matthew McConaughey, Penelope Cruz, and Steve Zahn are sort of the three main characters, right? And so I'm thinking, all right, Penelope Cruz naked. You got 5 minutes to entertain me. Let's go. Ended up watching the whole thing. So it is literally like they're treasure hunters. The two of them grew up. Steve Zahn and Matthew's characters grew up together, right? And so they went to school together, kindergarten, blah blah blah. Entered Naval Academy and all of this other stuff. And now they work for this company that digs up old relics and stuff like that. They track and find old relics and shit like that. So they go on this epic adventure, and it's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It has sort of that vibe to it. They're shooting through the desert. There's all these African tribes and stuff that are coming after him and whatnot, and they're kind of in search of this boat that they sort of accidentally find near the end, which was pretty cool. And it's 2005, it's 2021, so we got 16 years. So if anybody says spoilers, you can go fuck your hats. But it was really good, man. I was impressed. It's only got a 6 out of 10 rating, but as far as like a good RPG action adventure movie, this was it, man. This is like Daring Tales of Adventure written all over it. They do all sorts of cool stuff. There's this one scene where they find this plane in the desert and it's just beat to shit and crashed in the dirt. But they do this thing where they like sort of crack its wing up on its side and use the wing for a wind sail, and they get it because the desert's relatively flat, and so they use it like a sailboat, but it's got wheels on it because it's a plane, right? So they got the wing. They're using the wing for a sail, and he's like leaning back, and it's tilted off to one side, and the other guy's using the rudder to steer the friggin' plane, and they've got it tied up with ropes and stuff like that. Anyways, it's good. If you get a chance to check it out, Sahara, it was pretty sweet. Came out in 2005. So that's what I did today. Jay, what did you do?
Yeah, packed and moved. Worked, packed and moved.
Wow.
Or I worked and packed. That's pretty much what I got off work at 3:30, and I was packing and cleaning up stuff in between then. So yeah, that's what I did.
Lame.
That's what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, lame. I'm trying to think. That's all I've been doing pretty much. Like I'm in that weird, because it's less than a week when they haul off all our stuff. So that's where that's where I'm in that position where it's just like, God, I got a lot to do, and like the time is starting to get away from me. But it all gets done anyway. It all gets done.
We were when we were doing renos and stuff, we pulled all the furniture out of the other room upstairs, and so it's weird because you don't realize how much your furniture stops your house from echoing. And so because the room is empty, when you're sitting there having breakfast or whatever, we're having dinner, I should say, and you speak and you can hear yourself echo back from the other room. And then when my son Wyatt walked in there, it was like just this like super echo that was coming out of this room. It's pretty funny. But you, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because you have a touch of an echo because you're sort of sitting in a room that's been packed up. Like a lot of your furniture is gone and whatnot. So
Yeah, everything that's exactly it too, because I don't have all the stuff all the stuff that you had and hanging on the walls and whatnot, all the acoustics and everything. Kind of you can hear my voice reverberate off these empty walls and stuff.
Sounds sexy. Did you pack up all your RPG stuff with some soft tissue paper?
Man, that was the first thing that I packed up. What I ended up doing too is because a lot of the I have a lot of the Savage Worlds box sets. I think they're pretty cool. I just packed up all the books that I had with those sets. I just packed those back in the box, neat as you can, and I stuck those in some boxes. And my other books, like the big thick non-Savage Worlds books, like the Age books and the other ones that I got laying around. Well, I got this big friggin' we went to Walmart and just bought a bunch of storage containers. We're gonna be having like all these big plastic bins out the yin yang when we move up there. I'm gonna build a fort out of them or something. I don't know, but we just got all of that stuff's packed up. RPG books are all packed up. That was the first thing really that I put in the boxes.
Nice. You know what I just realized? I didn't do anything with the ticker that runs across, so it probably reads something that pertained to 2 weeks ago. I don't care.
Yep,
I honestly do not care. You know why? Because we're not part of a network, Jay. We do not have to be professional at all anymore.
It's just us, man.
Right. Speaking of boxes and packing stuff, this is somewhat related because it's not about the books and the physical. It's the reverse of the digital. Do you you got a drive-through RPG account, I'm sure?
Yes, of course.
How many gazillions of files do you own on it?
If you give me a second, I'll pull it up.
While you're doing that, I would like to ask you, do you use the One Bookshelf drive-through RPG app for organizing your stuff?
I did. I actually downloaded it, and I actually did do that, and it's a pretty little handy app.
It is a very handy app, and I'm going to talk about it for half a second because it's in the list of things to talk about. What do we got over here? So we're going to kick over to podcast main page. I think this is us. So this is a little program that they got here. I think if I bust out, I might have to actually open another tab, and let's go to Drive-Through RPG over here. Through Drive-Through RPG, you can click on My Library, and then from My Library, it's going to pop up with this little thing that says keep track of your stuff as soon as it loads its thing. Our library app has been overhauled. Download now for desktop. You click on this bad boy, and it's version 3.013. I've had a lot of issues with this application, but for some reason 3.013 fixed a lot of it. Like, it would spin my hard drive for an hour and 45 to almost 2 hours reading my table of contents or reading the files in this folder. Excuse me. But they fixed it, and it doesn't do that anymore. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of how it works. This is sorted from new to old. You can see there's a D&D sale on right now. So I bought the Dark Sun box set. Always loved the Dark Sun setting, man. It's fantastic. I read the Prison Pentad. Great set of books. So I bought a couple of Dark Sun things, and you can see recently I purchased Fantasy Age Trojan War. We're going to do a little review on this, I think, in the next one, Interstellar Laser Knights, because it's a Zadmar Games, which is Richard Woolcock. We're going to talk about this little Tricube's Tale one-page RPG thing that he's got going on here. He tries to put out stuff once a month, kind of a thing. He puts out little adventures and whatnot. So I'm gonna do a bit of a deal on a collection of them and stuff like that, because they're actually pretty cool. We've talked about Tricube Tales before. This cool program, though, has this feature where you can look at these things in like big tab formations, which is pretty cool, right? It's like going through a library kind of a deal. The nice part about it is you can do a search for, like, from sorting. You can sort new to old, old to new, titles A to Z, Z to A, publisher, rule system. So, if you're looking for like age, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, you could type that in. It'll bring up everything you own related to age. You can search for basically anything, which is really cool. It downloads all your stuff into a folder, and it gives you these nice little icons and stuff like that. So if we click on, for example, let's do the age one. I'm going to click on that. And then what it's going to do is, I'm just going to move this over, is it will pop up my PDF and take me right from clicking on that right into my PDF to read what it is we're talking about. Makes it super handy to find stuff. Like I did a lot of DDEX. If I type in that, you'll see that there's a lot of, they all come up. Here's all my Adventurers League stuff. And it just makes it easy to find stuff, man. It's freaking fantastic. And it works so freaking well. Tells you if stuff is updated or downloaded or has updates. But it's super fantastic. Like a lot of people are using drive-through, especially Savage Worlds uses it for PDFs and stuff like that, right? Like, you download your stuff through Kickstarter or whatever, and you get a bunch of PDFs. Everything gets uploaded to drive-through as part of the package, and it's just become wickedly like ultra handy. Super fantastic freaking program, man. One bookshelf. I'm so impressed with it, especially since they fixed it. I just wanted to give those peeps a shout out because it was a pain in the ass to work, but 3.013 works freaking fantastic. It's good stuff, my dude.
I need to download that update because I have it and I haven't really fooled around with it that much because I just dump everything to a Google Drive folder and I just look for it there and I'm like, okay, and it all syncs with my phone and my iPad and everything like that. I just hit that folder, so that's and the bulk of my PDF reading is done on my iPad, not on desktop anyway. So
I think you can get a tablet app for this thing. I have never looked into it.
Yeah, there is. I actually, it's a little weird though because you can, because I use Adobe. I just use Adobe to read PDFs, but like you can actually read the PDFs via this app, and it's cool. But I'm just used to Adobe, just because it's got the bookmarks and everything like that too. And I'm just used to the interface.
So in order for you to get access to those files, though, you have to go to the drive-through and download them to a location. And then you can access them. So you just keep the things that you're interested in and store everything online. I got you. Mine are all on my hard drive, and it just makes things like super easy to find. I use it quite a bit for pulling up players' handbooks and different things like that because it makes it wickedly easy to find them. Anyways, you got a thing in here that says "Thinking of Savage Settings." What's this all about?
I just see. Here's the thing too. Well, let me ask you this: your game is done, right? Your ICRPG campaign is all wrapped up, correct?
It is, and man, do I have friggin' what's next to ADD right now?
See, that's where I'm at too, and that's why I wanted to talk about this because I'm pretty much moving into a whole different environment, But apparently, it's the best environment for gaming because, like, where I'm going to be living, there's more game stores than I've ever lived. Especially, all I got to do is cross the river into Portland, and there's even more game stores in there. So it's just a big wealth of like gaming up there. And so what's interesting too is I don't have to now. There's people that just want to play. You just go on the Reddit or whatever and say, hey, or Discord, say, hey, I'm starting up a group who wants to play. And people are like me. It's not like how it is now, where you kind of there's not that many people who do this in Nashville or anything, and I'm not sure where the groups all hang out and whatnot. But it gets to the point too, you want to play an RPG, but there's not even really, you don't really know anybody to play, so you kind of ask your friends who aren't really into it, like, hey, you guys want to check this out? And they're like, yeah, sure, but they're just saying that they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't give a shit, man. That's what
you need to find new friends, bud.
Well, that's what it is. I talk to my wife's friends or whatever, like, hey, you guys want to check this out? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they're college professors and stuff. And I think they like the idea behind it, but once we sit down to play, I don't think they get it. And so what it is you got to find people who want to play this stuff instead of strong arming your friends or twisting people's arm. Hey, come on, play this, you'll have fun. I promise you'll have fun. No, just go to an area where people want to friggin' play. And that's the thing. I don't have to worry about that there. There's people who want to friggin' play in the area. You know what I mean? And so I was thinking of different Savage settings to because like you said, my campaign's wrapped up, and I don't have anything currently going on right now. So I'm thinking, do I want to run Deadlands? Do I want to run Rifts? Do I want to run, ETU? And so I'm just thinking of everything that I need to, or that I would really, really like to run. Hell, man, Flash Gordon's always been on my list of something I'd really like to run as well.
There's the Savage Worlds Flash Gordon Moons of Mongo, I think, is running right now. I haven't actually looked into it. I didn't do the Flash Gordon box set. I was never really a big Flash Gordon guy when I was growing up. I didn't watch too many of the shows. I think I watched Flash Gordon thinking it was Flash Gordon, and so when Flash Gordon actually came out and there was no boobies and no sexy time, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, this is not as cool as the one I saw. This is not like the one I remember. But I tell you, man, I've been working on a tabletop simulator adventure. Well, it's a Savage Worlds adventure that I've been building in TTS for Don't Drink the Water. I don't know if you've ever played that, but you play a group of whatever, hombres. You could be a barmaid. It doesn't matter, right? Like you play Deadlands, so you've got your Wild West characters and stuff, and you have to take a caravan wagon, like a wagon full of materials and stuff like that. Like the guy tells you what it is. It's like guns and ammo and stuff. He wants you to take it across the border and give it to the Mexicans and stuff like that. So to help them defeat the French, because the French are sort of opposing him or whatever, right? So so I've been working on that. It's a really cool adventure. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but that's the gist of it, right? Take this caravan down to this little abandoned chapel kind of a thing, meet some people, get the code word, we pay you some money, and you're kind of a done sort of a deal. So I've been working on that. But I also want to do Last Parsec, Iron Gate. So I've been reading that, but between all of the other stuff I got going on, I haven't really been able to do anything. So, and now I got to show you this, Jay. When I smash over to the right monitor through the Twitches, look at this. These have been happening recently. This is a guy that I subscribe to, Paperforge Minis, and he makes paper minis, and I use these in my tabletop simulator game. And so for the last month, he's been making these things. Pirate crew. Here's a little goblin pirate crew member. Here's like the Incredible Hulk pirate crew member. The captain, swashbuckling female captain lady, that she's pretty sweet looking. Like, he's made so many friggin' pirate runs that now I want to friggin' run a fucking pirate adventure. And
50 fathoms.
Right? Like 50 fathoms is exactly right, because that's sort of my gimmick. Is this a Viagra ad? Uh-oh. What? I don't understand what that means.
It's those are targeted ads.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he got a Viagra ad when he popped onto the channel. No idea. So yeah, now I'm thinking I'm going to run some 50 Fathoms. I did that cool. If you haven't seen it, go check out my YouTube channel where I did the Skull Island. That is a freaking sweet map that turned out fantastic. I was skimming through Reddit the other day and I found a couple of friggin' great maps. There's like a really cool like underwater cavern kind of pirate cave and shit like that. And so now I'm thinking I want to run some 50 Fathoms. So it's Iron Gate, 50 Fathoms, or it's going to be some Deadlands. But now it's friggin' Trojan War. I'm like, I was thinking I was going to run some of this, and I don't have enough time.
That's another one too. Like especially we talk about this. Like Weird Wars is also another one that I would like to run as well. Like just a Weird Wars campaign. World War I or World War II. I mean, just like not like a seriously long campaign, but maybe like a mini campaign in that just to check it out. Yes, I mean that's the thing. Like I got so much stuff, and also there's always friggin' rippers that I can run. I'm trying to start up a little Portland area Discord, and a little community like Savage Worlds community and everything. And there's a couple of people that are like that really are excited about Savage Worlds, and they're like, man, I want to play. One guy's like, man, I want to play some rippers, some ETU, some riffs, and some Deadlands. I'm like, man, you throw a Necessary Evil. And those are my top 5 favorite settings right there. And I'm like, this guy's going to be my new best friend up there,
Yeah, Necessary Evil was a lot of fun when we played that. That was a sweet ass friggin' Supers campaign.
I'm going to like I cannot wait for the new stuff to come out because I'm really itching to get back into Necessary Evil. It's one of my favorite things of all time. And also too, like people are always like, well, I don't want to play a goody two shoe superhero. Well, you don't in Necessary Evil. You don't. I mean, you can be as evil as you want to be.
You can be as evil as you want to be. Fallout is out too, man. I want to pick that book up and have a read. I got to see if I can't get the PDF of that when it comes out and do a thing with that. All right. Well, you know what? We've been yammering at each other here for quite a while. Let's get into the main topic here. I'm going to smash a button over here and see if this doesn't work. Where's my if I had one of these? Can you hear that, Jay?
No.
Oh, that's good. Maybe I'll pump it out 3 times.
Now I can hear it. Now I can hear it.
All right, I'll fix that in post, as they say. I gotta smash a button over here too. Right main podcast side. This over here, podcast main page PDF. All right, main topic. We're going to be talking about Fantasy Age new supplement, Trojan condoms.
Trojan condom? No, we're talking about Trojan Age.
Trojan.
Actually, you know the Trojan War, the Trojan Age. You know, well, they call it Trojan Age or whatever. It's Fantasy Age Trojan War. I just call it Trojan Age. You know, why not? Because I mean, that's what I mean. You can, you know, you can simplify all of that to just say pretty much ancient Greek in that area. You know, they go on to call it like the Homeric epic. You know, the Homeric epic, and that's like their blanket term for everything, kind of like ancient Greece. You know, up to the point where, you know, it's got the Iliad and Odyssey, and you know what these guys, what Homer and Virgil all wrote and all their stuff. But they're like, all right, we're just going to lump it all in. It's Homeric. You know, these ideas. Ancient Greece. That's all you got to know. Ancient Greece.
Right. So, did you read this at all? Did you pick it up? Did you have a skim? Now, I was thinking when I first laid my eyes on this that we were going to be playing some campaigns just during the era of. And man, did I get rope-a-doped, and I had a really hard time getting through this because it was like not what I wanted it to be. What this is actually about is how to run how to run the actual Trojan War itself. You don't necessarily play the main characters, but they're going to give you all the information on the people, places, and things that happened during this sort of time period because they don't have a time nailed down. In fact, they don't even really know if the Trojan War was actually like a real event from my understanding. So the timings, I think around 1600, something like that is what they are getting at. Takes place
1600 BC.
In Greece. We're talking Bronze, Copper Age. Steel or iron isn't really a thing. It's a little hard to make and stuff still. So this is literally all the information that you're going to need to run the actual campaign. So the book, this is designed by Aaron Rosenberg with Malcolm Shepard and Stephen Kenson. Cross the wine dark sea and storm the walls of Troy again. Fantasy Age Trojan War revives the classic 3rd edition. So they had done this once already for 3rd edition, and now they've restreamed it for Fantasy Age. This book explores the Homeric Age, a period that's half history, half myth, and all about dramatic action, where the gods and heroes battle each other, and the inescapable judgment of destiny. Enter the Iliad and other ancient tales in Fantasy Age using a host of new options. So they got some cool, so you can play, basically you can only play humans. There is not really any, you can play, the only thing that stands out is playing somebody that's divine, but you can really only play humans. They've got some new talent specializations. There is magic, shockingly to me. I got a whole issue with realism that I got to work out in my own brain sometimes. Like when we were talking about riffs with the dragon juicers that have heavy weapon damage with their arms. Like sometimes I just can't get past certain things, and I need to work on that. But there's weapons, armors, gears, chariots, and ships of the Homeric Age, how to use them, rules for divine intervention, which lets the gods and heroes have meaningful interactions without compromising divine immortality. I also have issues with gods and playing gods in games because certain things, for me, you would never imagine having godlike powers. Like you could only imagine it, but As far as my brain works, and I would be like, if I had godlike powers, I wouldn't be here looking at you idiots. I'd be off doing some other cool shit in the cosmos, right? Not hanging out here watching a bunch of friggin', people riding horses and smacking each other with swords and shit. I'd be like, doing some sweet interstellar travel. Anyways, that's just my dumb ass. So, Fantasy Age, Trojan War. There's a little skit on this. We got the table of contents. This goes through. We've got the Trojan War and the Homeric Age. First 4 or 5 pages. A really nice breakdown of sort of like a condensed version of what happens. There's 9 years of war, but the actual Iliad or the Odyssey, whichever one it is, only takes place sort of during the end part of it. Maybe like the last year. So there was actually quite a bit more of it that you can play in. Excuse me, but this breaks it down quite nicely. Tells you the story, tells you how it started, who the gods were, what happened, and it gives you sort of a really nice little bit of a background in 4 or 5 pages. Then we get into character creation. Chapter 2 deals with magic. There's priestly magic and stuff you can cast. There's some cool stuff with magic. There's equipment in chapter 3, religion and the gods in chapter 4, and then the actual campaign is in chapter 5. Now, this is a 68-page supplement, 68 pages, I think, something like that. So it's very short. One second. I had a cough to phlegm out, and I don't want to do it in people's ears. So it's cool. It falls under my 72-page booklet idea. All the art is this old sort of comic strip, monotone looking red. I want to call it sort of like pencil art. Not the greatest art in the world, but it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. What else we got here? So the introduction. So you got a couple of pages of introduction. It tells you, what's going on, what happened in the war. And there's, of course, here's your social justice warrior, slavery and discrimination disclaimer. Don't be, because it takes place in the 1600s, there's a lot of slavery involved. But slavery isn't, like white on black slavery. It's Greece, like your neighbors kind of a thing. So it's like sort of white on white slavery, but they got to put the disclaimer in there because it's 2021 and, this is the times that we live in. You can choose to take this out. You don't have to play with it, which is pretty nice. There's a couple disclaimers in here. There's another one for like the sexism that takes place because back in the day, women were considered sort of property or spoils of war. So there's a lot of disclaimers in here for people that might be offended by that kind of stuff. And so yeah, that is in here. This map, I swear, Jay, was ripped right out of Google Maps because it is way too detailed to the. I looked it up. I was like, where's the AG&C? And so I was looking it up, and it's like, I swear to God, they ripped this map right out of Google Maps and just put a little fancy art around it but it does look good, scaled in miles.
Well, most maps I would imagine are accurate, Gary. It's not all Google Maps.
I know what I'm saying is like see all these little islands in here that don't have names or places. They're all on Google Maps, like right. It's a little too detailed.
Well, it's funny too that you mentioned this because I was playing like back when quarantine was, we were in the throes of quarantine last year. Video games. I played a lot of video games, during quarantine. And so one of the ones that I got into was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where it's all, where it's just this whole time period all encapsulated, where you play in ancient Greece. And what's funny too is I actually went to Google Maps or Google Earth to look at, because in the game you can actually travel around to the different, the Grecian islands and whatnot. I actually went to Google Earth to see. I was like, all right, I want to see if these align, if the game actually aligns with what Google Earth shows me, and it did, and I was actually pretty impressed with it. And like this map too, yeah, it's got all of these same features that I can remember from playing in that game, like Peloponnesia and Euboea and Thessaly, and all of these areas, and up north and Macedonia to the north and everything like that too. So yeah, this is you're absolutely right. This is plucked right from history and thrown right into the book.
Yeah, I'll show you a thing here. I mean, this won't mean anything to the audio podcast when we record it, but if you look on this map here and you'll see this little area, this kind of looks like a dog's head, like a couple of ears, and there's a bit of a mouth and a nose and whatnot, right, where it comes in here right above Mycenae. And then if I scooch over to the right monitor, here it is right here, like almost sort of verbatim, right? Like this is what I mean. There's too much detail. I think what they did was they just copied Google Maps and then just converted it to that, because that's just a little too. But whatever. It's just interesting, right? Like this, you could literally use this old map to navigate the new place, because it's that sort of specific. I was gonna say Pacific, but whatever. I mean, fuck, it's neither here nor there. So back to that. So you got a cool map. It looks good. Looks decent. Scrolling down, they talk about the Homeric setting. There's some other stuff in here I wanted to get to. So character creation, chapter 1. Essentially, all you can do is play a human. There is a cool thing written right here. I will highlight this text. It says, other ancestry, such as dwarves and elves, are not available. Huh? No dwarves, no elves. What do you think of that?
No. Good.
Screw them. You can play a human, and by playing a human, the only thing that you can choose are sort of the different nationalities, I guess they would be. The Achaeans, the Trojans, you've got... There's a couple other ones that you can play in here. Oh, so they go right into the Divine Offspring, but in my notes I wrote them down. Not only can you play those two, you can play Amazons. They have the Amazon women in here. There is a Scythian race that are sort of famed horse riders. There's Egyptians, and I don't know why I wrote down Ethiopians. Yeah, and so there's a couple of them that, you know, there's another one in here too called the Axe something or other that you can play. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it'll come up. And then you've got Divine Offspring. So if you wanted to play like a what page are we on here? Page 8, something like that. We're on page 9.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. Like the gods, well, the Greek gods, man, that's all they did is they messed with humans and screwed around. So it's very like all the heroes in Greek mythology, like a lot of them, and all the tales were, you know, everybody was like, you know, they were offsprings of Zeus. Like Perseus he was a son of Zeus. Hercules was a son of Zeus. You know, all these guys. Zeus and his many trysts that, you know, around the Grecian Isles, where he would turn himself into a bull or turn himself into a cloud of mist and impregnate some hapless young woman.
Some farmhand. He turns himself.
Yeah, that's what Zeus would do. He would just turn himself into whatever. He's like, I'm going to knock off a piece. Let me do this, and I'm going to turn into a.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it in bull form. I'm going to turn into a giant friggin' bull, and then I'm going to get it on with farmhand girl. So.
Yeah, man. If you sit here and like, if you like, I read a lot of Greek mythology. In fact, when I was a kid, I think we read a story, I think in 3rd grade, and I just became fascinated with Greek mythology, and that led to Norse mythology, a lot of this stuff. And I just remember reading all this stuff as a kid and just reading these stories, and I was like, how do people believe this shit? But it was just fascinating to me and then when you start getting into it as an adult, and you're like, wow, that's all people wanted to really do, man. They just wanted to drink, fucking fight, man. Even way back then.
The 3 Fs, except for the D part. But the D could be used for Fs. Divine Offspring, a playable race. Yeah. The result of sexy time between gods and humans, apparently in bull and farmhand formation. But imagine being studly enough, Jay, to have the sexes with some kind of goddess. She rolls down, and you're Buff the Stuffed Bagwell, and she wants your gimmick, huh?
Hey, man, the god, man, you don't know how these gods work, man. That's the whole thing. That's what you realize in Greek mythology. Like, the gods are assholes, and we're just all at their whim. That's pretty much what you glean out of Greek mythology. They're assholes. They fight and they bicker, and they can't get along with each other, and yet and they're taking it out on humans. That's pretty much what you get in Greek mythology. The gods are spiteful, and we're fucked. Pretty much.
It's too funny. So yeah, you can play as an offspring, which is pretty cool. Something I've always liked, social class. That's pretty sweet. You can play as outsider, enslaved, peasant, artisan, warrior, administrator, or a royal. If you have issues with the enslaved part, or any of that kind of business, you can. There is a thing in here again. There's a disclaimer that says you can opt out of it. If it's not your deal, away you go. But here's what's cool about this is once inside of this, say you're an outsider, the outsider breaks down into different categories: exile, foreigner, hermit, nomad, raider, or wanderer. So each one of the above categories gets broke down into 6 different ones. So it really sort of gives you like a lot of customization for the style of character that you're going to play, which is pretty cool. All of them are dice rolls. And then there's a couple of pages on what each one of them means. Like if you're a fisher, you catch fish from land or modest boats, which never stray far from shore. It tells you, this is what you are if you're a trader, a herder, kind of a thing. And then again, social justice warrior stuff for characters and gender. It says Homeric legends are sexist. Kings enter battle with other men, and sometimes women are treated as property and spoils of war. But then they go on to say that queens were kind of badass back in the day. They had a lot of influence and a lot of effect. And then it just, there's a little bit of a warning here that says GMs should accept characters of any gender in any role, kind of a thing. And so, yeah, it's cool to see that they put that in there just to sort of be inclusive. We got different backgrounds, and then we get into Homeric focuses. Now, focuses are we got to play some age. I mean, that's
yeah. Yeah, we'll have to play some more age, especially if we're going to be in the same area, man. We'll have to come down. We'll have to throw some stuff together. Now, I'm waiting on the big, the fantasy age, the complete core rule book. But I mean, modern age ain't nothing. We can take whatever, do all that stuff with it too. But yeah, I'd like to get into some age again. It's fun.
So they've got Homeric focuses. Focuses are things like accuracy focus. You can take arcane blast, bows, brawling, light blades, sling staffs, and throwing and stuff like that. Focuses just allow you to get a little bit more of a mechanical modifier.
Yep, you get a +2. That just means like you have a base score in your. You're essentially, you don't have any skills in age. It's all attributes and you roll for all of that stuff. However, though, if you have a special focus in one of these attributes, that gives you an extra +2 on that roll. So if you have, let's say a 2 in accuracy, but you're actually pretty good at like swinging a light blade, you'll get a +2 to any light blade accuracy roll that you make.
Sweet. There's some new talents that you can take. A ret, you have to be divine offspring. This says your excellence surpasses human limitations. You possess what the Greeks call a ret. Inspired ability in action. You get a bunch of cool things. Like there's a really cool feature in here called Charge, where I think they say that Achilles had it or something like that. And as you're running, because he could, or no, who's the guy with the winged feet? Hermes? Hermes had, it was Hermes' boot, right? If anybody was in his line of running, he could attack them because he was like sort of that fast. He's like one of these guys that, but you can kind of get a thing like that in one of your charge abilities, where if you charge at somebody and there's somebody in the path, you can get a free action on that person and basically like attack them as you're charging to another person. And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. You can take athletics. They've got primal weapon style, shield formation style, swift-footed style. All of these things just kind of give you mechanical advantage inside of the game. Some of the available specializations, again, there is magic in this game, and that sort of, for me, breaks that third wall, I think, kind of, that bit of realism, because we all know that there's no magic, but we are dealing with gods, and that's where my brain kind of falls apart.
Well, here, I'm going to help you out with that a little bit, too. Is like, I think a lot of this magic isn't like... you got to think of it like not in terms of like like wizardry, like magic from medieval type magic. Like a lot of the magic that they were working in Greece was all like like seeing the future, was all like soothsaying and stuff like that. So you went and saw the oracle, you went and saw these ladies, and so it's more like that. It's more like divination, that sort of thing. It's not like you got like some wizard. But then again, too, if you have some sort of oracle or somebody who's touched with the gods, touched by the gods, you can always say that they have these special abilities and whatnot too. The way that I would do it, like if anybody was going to throw magic out or whatever, like you're going to be touched by the gods to be able to do some shit that you can't normally do.
Well, there's things like charm and stuff like that, like charming or casting curses or trying to do blessings and stuff like that. All of that kind of stuff is falls under sort of the magic that you can cast inside of this game. You've got some specializations: Arcane Dabbler, Bard, Beastmaster, Champion, Commander, Diplomat, which would be cool if you played a Diplomat. You basically, you go around trying to make peace all the time. You try and avoid fighting and whatnot. Some of the new specializations, there's Amazon. So the Amazon women are pretty cool. There's a talent that you can take for them that gives you certain skills and abilities. The Charioteer, this would be cool. Driving around in a chariot all the time, smacking people off of that thing would be awesome. When you read about the chariots and stuff like that, they talk about the different designs and the things that they were made of, and the way that they're built. Leather and copper bound together and stuff like that. But they're like, there's a dip in the middle, so you could actually sort of like sit in this thing and duck down, and then stand up, and there's a dip where you could like throw spears, like, so it had kind of a weird U shape to it and stuff like that. They do say that horse riding is not a big thing, so like riding a horse. There's the only sort of like one group of people, one nationality that was really good at it, but other than that, most people use spears and just fought off of your feet, kind of a thing, when you go into the wars and stuff. Dedicated warrior is, I believe, one of the last ones, and then there's demigod. Now, demigod, I was looking at some of this stuff, and I think that demigod is just basically your divine whatever, or the divine power.
Yeah.
So it has to deal with all of that. What is in here? Demigod labors.
The divine bonds. That's what you get. It's sort of like that's the best way that I can describe the divine bonds. Or it's sort of like in regular fantasy age and modern age, you have like your little you can use them to get like stunt points or something, or it's like relationship points or something. And I think that's what these. I think you get like special points that you can use for stunts and everything, and that's what you can do with this specialization. Because it gives you more points to use for stunts. Because I mean, you are like a cut above everybody else, being you got God blood in you, so
Yeah, the demigod thing basically is you're adventuring so that you can gain renown and basically become a true god, kind of a thing. I don't understand how any of that stuff works, like the lore behind it or whatever. There's a pharmakeus, so you can make potions and stuff like that as one of your, I guess, classes, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's an alchemist.
Then there's the priest class. So this goes into some really good detail about how to create a priest and what spells are available. Things like command, healing aura, strings of fate. So you're not casting. Here's wind blast. That might give you a bit of a knockback, but it's not really doing any kind of a damage. Missile shield, charm beast, and snaring roots. They're very. There is really. I don't think there's anything in here that. There's lightning bolt, but lightning bolt I get because. This is the thing that it says in here. Like Zeus is the god of lightning, right? So if you try and use lightning bolts, he's going to come down and F your shit up. Like Zeus is going to blast you right in the arsehole with a lightning bolt because he's like, no, lightning is my stuff. But I'd imagine if you were a priest of Zeus, you could probably get away with casting lightning bolt or something like that. But yeah, you're not casting no magic missiles from your hands or casting fireballs or doing any of that kind of shit, right? Like a lot of the spells are pretty mundane kind of buffs and bonds, or buffs and that kind of shit, buffs and charms. This is what you were talking about, divine bonds. Now, this is a really cool idea because you pick a god, any one of them, and then you can gain favor with them. So you will make a sacrifice or something like that, and that's going to give you bond points. And then you can use bond points to do stunts, which is pretty sweet. Depending on how many times you sacrifice the stuff you sacrifice, you get different bond points or a different amount. And you can use those points, like I said, to cast different stunts. It tells you how to recover them. So I think this is a fantastic idea that maybe D&D needs to pick up, because in D&D, you just pray to a god. Like I use Lathandra.
It doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't have there's no mechanical effect. There's a whole mechanical effect in here. And so what's cool is sometimes the gods will fuck with you. And so there's divine wrath stunts. Like you can get cursed, as these are the GMs would use these, right? Cursed aura. So you can place a curse on somebody. You can cause hazards. Bolt of wrath is another one. Confusion. So those are things that the gods or the GM can use against you. If you were like, if you say you sacrificed to Zeus or whatever, but then, Hermes was pissed off because he doesn't like Zeus, kind of a thing. So every time you sacrifice something to Zeus, Hermes gets pissed off and now he's going to fuck with you in some fashion, right? Which is pretty neat. Divine favor stunts, aura a favor, so you just get mechanically you get a boost. Divine omen, invisible aid, and divine gift. This one is actually pretty cool. Your god brings you a magical item, putting it in your hands or laying it at your feet. I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. Divine manifestation. They appear to help you out. And that sort of covers that. So there's chapter 2 is all about the magic. The magic's actually not too bad, like you say. Like you're not casting magic missile or fireball or any of that stuff. There is a charm arcana, which is, again, it's pretty self-explanatory. You take beguilement, glamour is command, ensorcel. Those are kind of the spells that you would get at your disposal. This is very cool.
And then you can curse people,
right?
Yep. Then you got the curse one.
Yep. Misfortune, hazard, intoxication, malediction, slumber, put people to sleep, accursed, envenom, like you can poison people. Oh, poison arcana is another one. That's pretty sweet. Intoxicate, slumber, envenom. So you can see that the magics are kind of, they do make sense, which is pretty cool. There's magic items. Now, the magic items are a little weird because they're not like, you're not going to find a +1 longsword. But you are going to find something like, I think the Aegis is armor. So this is armor that belongs to Zeus. But Athena is its usual custodian, and she occasionally lends it to other gods and heroes. So you might, that is a unique piece of armor, but that goes back to the divine bonds. You pray to Athena, and there's a good chance that she'll lend you your armor as you go on a quest, and then you get a bunch of bonuses, right? On uncommon stuff like Lotus, it has the ability to, anyone who eats must make a target number, what does it say? 15
willpower save.
Yeah, so or suffer amnesia for 1d6 hours. Molly, it's marijuana. I don't know what it does, but it's some kind of herb. Then there's nectar and some Stygian salves for healing and shit like that. So very, very sort of bland and basic magic items like you would expect to find sort of back in the day. There's a shield, some armor, and, a few other things that you can get. The Cloak of Heracles, fist armor of Achilles, helm of Hades. But these things are like, this is kind of where Trojan War falls short for me. Is they're not items that you can go get. Like they're always in, the unique and cool stuff is in possession of the gods, and you have to do things to appease them in order to get it. There's a bunch of other stuff in here for, Thunderbolts of Zeus, Band of Truth, permanent magic items. There's an Aeolian wind bag. So if somebody casts like wind spells and shit like that, you can open this bag and capture them. Golden Chariots. Head of Medusa was actually pretty cool. Legend says that Perseus beheaded the original Medusa and its skin was used to make the Aegis. Now the Aegis is a shield, and her face is on the front of it and shit like that. So when you hold it up, whatever, it can turn people to stone. Some sandals of the swift-footed. There's a couple of kind of cool things in here, but I don't know. Not enough to float my boat, I think, as far as magic items go. And the actual way that you collect them and stuff like that is kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't ever really collect anything in Greece mythology. No, you just had to wait until the gods always bestowed all this stuff upon you. Like when Perseus was about to fight Medusa, it was Athena that he got all of his good shit from. He got a sword and he got his shield, his mirror shield and everything like that too. Yeah, that's how you gotta factor everything in, is you gotta tailor, like how the gods factor heavily in like how much magic you're going to how much magic and fun stuff you're going to get. You know what I mean?
Yep. There's the next section is basically covers all of the equipment. Now it's kind of cool because they bring things back in from back in the day. There wasn't coins back then, according to what they say in this thing. So they use bits, and bits are basically like a sliver of this metal the width of your finger. And then it's, if you just imagine them as coins, it's kind of the same thing. So you're using bits, little pieces of metal and stuff like that you would trade because they have value, and kind of works a little similar to, copper transform, or 1 copper is 10 bronze. 10 bronze what is it? Then there's five obelisks. So yeah, there's a little conversion chart in here for what meets what. Weapons, generally you're just going to be using spears or you're going to be using bows. That's kind of it. There's clubs and stuff like that. Maybe you got some pitchforks or whatever, depending on, what kind of a deal you are. Slings is a big thing. Axes, spears. There's a whole list of Homeric weapons that I'm scrolling through. I kind of try and scroll fast through this stuff so that, you get a hint of what's in it and it doesn't look like I'm showing you everything, all of the deal. Armor materials, there is a hit location thing. So this one deals with hit locations. When you attack somebody, you actually have to roll the lowest attack die will determine where you hit somebody. And when you're wearing armor, of course, armor covers. If you have a helm, it covers your head, right? Your chest and shit like that. So you make an attack at somebody, and then when you roll that attack, one of those dice will read as the location that you hit. And then if you have armor, that armor bonus applies to. So it's a little bit of a complicated attacking system in this one for some reason with the hit locations and armor. But, whatever. It is what it is, right? I don't like it when things get overly complicated. Here's some stuff on armor and locations, the descriptions, what things cover and stuff like that. So it really covers all your bases for armor and shit like that. Homeric goods. What is all this stuff? So furniture, cookware, all this kind of things. The stuff that you're going to find, knitted thises and blankets and all that kind of stuff for when you're out adventuring is all covered in here. There's your clothing, kilts, robes, sandals, shifts, tunics, covers food and drink that you would find during the time. And then there's a section on vehicles, chariots and Homeric ships. I'm really digging the chariots. I don't know what it is, but I think it would just be fucking cool driving around in a chariot, throwing a spear at a dude. Do you know what I mean? That would be pretty fucking badass. Because it is in the Mediterranean area, there's a lot of ships and stuff like that. They don't really go into too much detail about boating and stuff like that. In 50 Fathoms in Savage Worlds, excuse me, there is a determined set of things that happen before you can get boarded and you actually get into melee combat. There's a bunch of steps that you can take and stuff like that. They don't really cover any of that, so there's no predetermined way to do boat or no advice on how to do boat combat or boarding combat or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know what to say about it. You can find that information in other places if it is even a thing, right? They've got, what else we got? Here's some rules for vehicles. So these are statistics, handling and stuff like that, velocity, how fast they go, damage they do for ramming and stuff like that. But there's stunts, anti-vehicle stunts. Dent, expose, destroy part. So, you get some stunt die and you're driving your chariot versus somebody else's chariot and you get 5 stunt points, you can wreck him. You can attack his vehicle and smash it and crash it, which is pretty neat. There's a section on crashes here. We're getting pretty close to wrapping this bad boy up. So the last section is religion and the gods. Now, this is for me, this is one of the things that drives me kind of not mental. It's nothing against this book. It's just the idea that a human, a mortal, could know the mind of a god is a thing that has never sat well with me. It's just an issue that I have. Like, if you had that kind of uncontrollable power, and me being a human, I mean, I know what I would do. It would be naked ladies. I would live like the Serpent King guy in Conan, right? It'd just be hundreds of naked ladies. It'd be beer and alcohol all the time. But the reality is that's just my own stupid brain and me filling my wants as a human. But if you were born a god and had access to all these divine powers, your thinking is in a different location. It's in a different space. It's like when people try and tell me what they think the mind of God, or they try and discern the Bible, or not discern.
Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of the thing too with how with Greek mythology, as opposed to like Egyptian mythology, the Egyptians, man, were so they were thought of as like the Greeks and the Norse, man, they really humanized their gods, if you know what I mean. These gods are petty and they squabble and they fight all the time. Where the Egyptian gods, they at least felt like gods. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did some heinous shit to each other too, but at least they felt elevated, The Grecian gods, I mean, they were in there, they were getting their hands dirty, and like I said, they had more fun like screwing with humans than they did anything else.
That is one of the things
that taking care of them.
Yeah, that's one of the big concepts in this book. Even though I have huge issues with playing gods in games and stuff like that, this book handles it really well. For that reason, and it specifically says they're just there to fuck with you. Like, that's their whole job. They're going to come down. They're going to maybe steer you off in the wrong direction. Somebody's going to screw with you. They're just, humans are sort of play toys, playthings for the gods, and they just like to cause trouble and cause grief and see what happens and stuff. I think there was some kind of mention where it said something like Zeus thought there was too many humans on the world or something like that, and that's why he started the whole Trojan War. He was looking for a way to sort of exterminate humans without doing it himself. They handle a lot of this stuff by throwing in the term fate, which is just basically a loose term that allows you to sort of use the gods but not have them come in and overpower. And then there's like weird rules, like if a god comes in and somehow they show up in mortal form, because they sometimes want to test their see what it's like to be a real mortal, so they'll show up in mortal form, and then if you beat them in like a sword fight or some shit like that. Oh wow, I wasn't even paying attention to chat. What's going on, Rattle? Bad Timber's hanging out now. But no, he even just said, he's like, Gary never watches his chat. I see it now. Anyways, dude, it's they use fate as a way to control the gods. Like, the gods are restricted in what they can do, and your excuse as a game master is fate. Otherwise they could just come down and lay waste to everybody, but they can't, because fate. Like, that's really all there is to it. It's kind of weird. There's a bit on the nature of the gods. Go ahead, Jay.
I'm just saying, like, how fun would that be, like, as a GM, to just say, well, if your players pissed you off or whatever, well, Zeus came down and he's going to go ahead and lightning bolt shit out of you, the game's over with, so
right.
Like,
and that's what I'm saying. So what they do to solve that problem is fate. Gods can't come down, can't fuck with the players too much, because fate. Right? There's something more powerful than the gods, which are super powerful, that are stopping them from screwing with people too much and screwing with things too much. It's just a control mechanism or an excuse that you can give as to why your gods did a thing. They can show up in a subtle form, intervention form, manifestation, like you were talking, like the bull having sexy time with the farm lady. They manifest in that. There's a list of manifestations, things that they can show up as, which is pretty cool. And as we scroll down, we're getting sort of right to the edge of this. There's a bunch of shit for lore and gods. Major divine infestations. Yeah, the artwork, again, man, throughout the whole book is pretty on point. The layout is pretty sweet. But the best part of all of it is when I got to the end. Oh, here's religion in life. There's a whole section on here on what you can... what's the word I'm looking for? Sacrifice to the gods. Like, the newer and younger and cleaner and fresher it is, the more the gods value it. They talk about meats, the best cuts of meats, the best wines and shit like that you donate or give to the gods. Human sacrifice. Sometimes they'll be like, you can sacrifice slaves and shit like that. Piety is in here. There's some stuff on that you can read up on. And I just wanted to get to sort of the last little page where it's there's a whole game master section in here too. It tells you how to sort of run the game, epic game mastering, how to run the story, how to make it feel like it's like an epic campaign. Because literally, like I said at the beginning, I thought we were just going to drive around in some chariots and go kill some minotaurs. That's what I was expecting to get out of this deal. But no, this is literally a book that is sort of like a detailed splat book on how to run the fucking Trojan War and do all of that, the motivations and all of that stuff, how the gods fit into it and shit like that. But this is the end of the book. Here is where it turned around for me. There's a bunch of stuff on different adventures that you can go on. They tell you like what happened before the Iliad, because there's like 8-9 years of war, and the Iliad I think only covers one of them. But when it gets into the Beastmaster section, there's not the Beastmaster. There's some adventure hooks at the end, and Homeric monsters. This is where it gets good. So you can the Fantasy Age basic rule book. There's bandits you can play, Medusa, demon soldiers, dragons. Now, dragons in the Homeric age don't have wings. Some of them breathe fire, but they're not your standard dragons. They're sort of like big, large serpents and shit. Specters, like ghosts and stuff, are a thing. Giants were a thing. Golems, ammits. What's an ammit?
Those are just the fantasy age. Those are just special creatures for the fantasy age.
Okay. So you got Manicore, Basilisk, Beastkin, Chimera, Griffin, Merfolk, Demons, Divine Warriors, Minotaurs, Nymphs, Ocean Worms, Elementals, Enchinamons, whatever the fuck that is, Werebeasts, and I think that's all of them. So this is where it kind of got cool for me, because rather than me play the Trojan War, which is not a thing that really appeals to me, I could see myself riding a chariot and going after some werebeasts, or fighting elementals, as I'm sailing my boat and shit like that to find lost treasure.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. Like, you don't necessarily have to play the Trojan War, but you can play some friggin' some Greek heroes, out to fight some friggin' nasty ass monsters.
Yeah, and
That's
where
what it boils down to. At the end of the day, like, you can have a damn adventure. You can have fun monster hunting in just about any setting. So, if you want to go monster hunting in Africa, that's going to be fun. You want to go monster hunting in ancient Greece, that's going to be fun too. So,
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it. If you can find out a way to monster hunt in a game, then there you go. You got it wrapped up.
Right. Yeah, so that was sort of the big deal for me. The whole thing, the whole Trojan War thing, is not really up my alleyway. That's why I was telling you earlier I was having a hard time getting through it. There's a lot of stuff in here that is just not my cup of tea. However, driving a chariot, Trojan War kind of in that era, copper, bronze spears, those things are huge limitations. The limited magic and stuff is kind of cool. Going through a labyrinth and trying to find a fucking minotaur, that's right up my alley, that kind of shit. And so I think if I was to run this material, or try and use this material, a lot of what I would do would be, you work for a king or a lord or something like that, and he's sending you off to do adventures. And those adventures would be things like go to find this minotaur and get this eye of whatever that's going to allow me to never get lost, to navigate or know my true way at all times. Wow, look at these guys. These fucking dudes. Ay. Sometimes I can't even read the chat out loud, Jay. Do you know what I'm saying?
It was funny too. Like, I can't even keep track of it, man. I'm actually I'm trying to pay attention.
Yeah.
Of what you're saying. And I'll get sidetracked and I'll just start reading all of that, and then I'll be like, I won't hear what you're saying. So it's nothing. No offense to anybody in the chat, but like, I'm old and I got a one-track brain. If I start, going off on a chat trail, I won't be paying attention. And one of us has to.
So I don't know. What do you think of this Trojan War? You're good with it? You like it? It's
yeah. Well, yeah, the fact that I'm all about any type of fantasy setting that is not medieval, because I mean, how many more medieval fantasy settings do we need, really?
Right. That's the kind of the appeal to me too. Would be, the old timey fucking hanging out in Greece, wearing your loincloth, having my saggy balls hang out the bottom of my shorts, or my junk hanging out, trying to seduce goddesses.
Right, and drinking wine and fighting, and like having to do these labors, like, all right, you got to clean, all right, you got to kill the lion of, the Nemean lion, who's, this big motherfucker. So like, you got to go out there and, take your group and go out there and kill the Nemean lion, or you got to go out there and you got to fight this, you got to fight the Hydra, like all of these great friggin' mythical creatures came out of Greek mythology. The Nemean lion, the Hydra, Pegasus, that came from Greek mythology.
Right,
so there's a wealth of them.
Yes, Cyclops, Medusa. There's some sweet ass ones you could go after.
And that's all. I mean, really, like, the one thing out of all of this, like, I think one of my favorite characters in all of mythology and all legend is Odysseus, the guy that they wrote the Odyssey about. And just I like him because the guy was he wasn't the strongest guy, he wasn't the fastest guy, he wasn't he was just clever, and he just knew how to talk his way out of a situation, and he could use whatever he had handy to get through. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty sweet. All right, that's going to put a pin in this show. We're done. I got to take my daughter and go driving. She turned 16 the other day.
Gotta go practice.
Stay off the sidewalks, folks. Just saying. Where's my outro bedliner? Here it is right here. And I think I got to smash these buttons, Jay. You hear me?
There you go.
Hopefully this doesn't get messed up, and I'll have to fix it in post again, because we're probably being put out twice. That's it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG show. We hope you enjoyed it. Now that it's 2021, we don't give a fuck. I don't know why it says we started caring a little. Get your vaccinations, you conspiracy theorist freaks, so we can start conventions in person again. I'd like to reach out and touch some people, get some hugs. I want to get my hug on.
Yeah, there's so many conventions in the Pacific Northwest area that I've been looking at, man. It's going to be pretty sweet when those things are going to be open again. And yeah, if you're interested in submitting 2 community questions so you can hear us poke fun at you and otherwise not answer your questions honestly, you can do so at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, send your hate mother Zeus.
Zeus. You can also catch us on Twitter, The Murder Hobo Show, on YouTube at The Murder Hobo RPG, or The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make 3-dimensional battle maps for role-playing and tabletop simulator, among other stuff. You can watch me do this live on Twitch. I think I'm going to do this next week, Wednesday. I got a map that I'm going to crack out and start working on. It's a little pirate cave that I'm going to put together for an adventure. Be warned, though, there isn't a set time. I'm just thinking that's probably what something will come up. Somebody will fucking die, and I'll have to go do a thing, right?
Right, as life does, yeah, you'll have to do that. But yeah, you can find the things that we discussed in the show notes, organized by most recent at the top, over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show where we talk about things we know little to nothing about. Sound professional doing it. Have a great gaming week. We're going to be out of here pretty soon, I think. Right, Jay?
Yeah, I think so.
I moved my stupid music thing. I don't know where it went to, so I don't know how much time. We've got a lot of time to walk this bitch up to the post. So we're just going to say fuck it and kill it here. Adios, amigos. Say goodbye, Jay.
Adios, amigos.
Murder Hobo RPG show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or that appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All items are used under fair use for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo RPG show, copyright 2021, all rights reserved.